Hey, hey, hey. What's up? All right. We'll give folks 1 sec to get in here and we'll start rolling with some fun DeFi talk. Mm, What's up? What's up? Be sure to hit the like button as you come in. Feel free to put any questions. I'll get to some questions at the end. Um, let's minimize this screen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about some of what we're doing in DeFi. So, you know, I know it seems really complicated. Everybody's focused on crypto, and it's funny because DeFi is a much bigger deal and a lot more practical implications than crypto. And it's what kind of like anything new. I don't like coming and talking a lot about it, just like I wouldn't talk. It's 10 years of me buying and selling businesses before I start to do any videos about it. Now you see folks with every strategy. It's like somebody does their first Facebook campaign and they're teaching it. And so I wanted to be careful with DeFi. It's something that I'd heard about maybe 2 years ago, and it was too early. There wasn't a lot that was built. And then last year, I had some friends that actually built a product in the space. And so, once you know somebody that is actually building it, it starts to become a little more real. And it took a few conversations before I started to realize the real implications and why this is such a big deal. And just there's just so much. I won't even touch on the implications of kind of combining what's going on with NFTs with what's going on with DeFi. But I want to have this as almost like an intro. And something I've talked about a lot on the channel for years is the business of banking and why the business of banking is such a great business. I fly all over the world, and no matter what city I land in, the biggest buildings in that city is always a financial institution. It's a bank, an investment bank, some kind of what's essentially a middleman. So all these people, we make it seem like this complicated thing, but all of the banks, and that's when I started Financier Bank, which is more on the side of in- acting as an investment bank for small businesses. And when you look at those businesses, what I always encourage people is like, hey, you can really do their business model if you're willing to modify it a little bit. But all those businesses and business models are just middlemen. Bank is just a middleman. That's all they are. They've on one side they have people that they're paying a little bit of interest for their money at this time. That interest is outrageously low. And then they go and they make money on the other side by lending. And then they basically have this asset, which is the note, and they borrow against that note. And then they can go out and lend again. And then they can borrow against that note. And then they can go out and lend again. And so it ends up being this really amazing business model. Investment banks, similar to just middlemen between these different parties. The most simple version of DeFi is that it digitizes the middleman. And if you look at the financial sector, basically it's just the financial sector catching up to digitization. And the cool thing for us is that that means that all of that money that we see when Goldman Sachs is making these massive profits, when the bank is making these massive profits, we basically can make those profits. And so that's the really foundational aspect to this whole thing. On a kind of in an industry perspective, if you look at the music industry, the same thing happened. It's already happened there. And everybody, it's funny because obviously, anytime I talk about this stuff, I've done a couple videos. And anytime I was like, oh, no, it's not going to happen. I had one person who commented, like, the SEC is going to shut this down. It's like, they're not going to allow crypto to do anything. It's like, dude, the president of the SEC teaches a blockchain course at MIT. So that people aren't doing research; they're just kind of knee jerk reaction. And it was the same thing with Napster. Even after Napster, the music industry came down on Napster, and everybody said, "Oh, like the music industry will never change. They're never going to digitize. They're going to lose too much money. It's always going to be CDs. It's going to be some kind of physical format. Doing these digital things and allowing streaming would hurt them way too much." But there's no way around it. It's kind of like the internet. Even with the internet, I was starting a business on the internet back when people literally said that exact same thing about the internet. The internet's not gonna work. It's this fad, and it's hard for us to imagine, but it's just the process of each thing. You look at Amazon. All Amazon is the digitization of that middleman. And you can go back to articles. I wish I should really kind of pull up an article, but you can literally look up the articles that were saying after there was a dot-com boom and then dot-com bust, and they basically said Bezos, this business doesn't make sense. And with all of these arguments, there's some logic to it. It's not like it's outrageous. There was complete logic to them saying that Amazon was going to go out of business, and their logic after it done really well, the stock had blown up, then it crashed super hard during the dot-com bust. What they were saying was, this is just a middleman. Like, why would Sony sell their products through this website if they can just sell it direct on another website where somebody just go to Sony.com and buy the products? Why would any manufacturer, why would Nike have their shoes on this middleman website when they could just sell it direct? And so from their perspective, it made logical sense that this thing was just a fad. There was no way that they were going to make it. And now we see, obviously, Bezos is now just throwing billions up into literal space. So it takes a shift of perspective to see these things. And if you read all of those articles that made logical sense from the old paradigm, instead of kind of going through the paradigm shift, then you wouldn't have invested in Amazon. It takes shifting perspective. Same thing with Spotify, when people are like, oh, there's no way that anybody's going to allow their music to be streamed. All these things take a shift in perspective. And that's what we're seeing in the financial sector, is that, the internet digitization, and basically all blockchain is the digitization of money. So you want to think of it like that it's just a new internet. And I know, even as I'm explaining it, these are concepts that took me a long time of studying and talking to experts and spending time with folks, even going to a conference, all of those, and then being just inundated with a lot of conversations. Anytime you're interested in space, you've got to just immerse yourself into it in order to get it. And so I'm trying to give y'all, in a little 20-minute video, a paradigm shift that took me, hundreds of hours of studying, conversations, reading, video, all that stuff. But suffice to say, the same thing that's happened with Uber when the taxis were fighting, that existing and going to court. Same thing that happened with the digitization of hotel, vacation properties, whatever it be, something have on Amazon. So it's happened. If you don't get by now that great, we're literally taught when I was a kid, never get in the car with a stranger. That's a whole, multi-billion dollar business. So this is the digitization of the financial sector. And so, if you look at what that means, it's basically just that uh, on top of the blockchain, there all of these financial services that we're used to going to a middleman for can be completed with smart contracts. All of the enforcement is digital, and basically it's just software instead of the people at the bank or the people at the investment bank. So it's just a whole world of, you can think of it as apps. I'll use kind of terminology that is more in line with what everybody's familiar with. But if you think of it as apps, right now already there are DeFi apps or protocols that can act as insurance, where you basically have an insurance against risks, and that's in this smart contract. It can speculate for you, it can trade for you. Smart contracts that can allow one person to lend and the other person to borrow, and it manages all of that the same way that a bank does. But instead of you paying most of that money going to the bank to pay for those huge buildings, to pay for all of that overhead and all of those employees and all the paperwork, it's literally a simple smart contract or application that manages those relationships. So right now, everything is centralized. And one day that's going to be completely crazy. Like people are going to look back to it, just like we look back before, like, how did I make it before Uber? The same way that people that we look back, it'll just be outrageous. Like, how do people live? How did I, even without Uber, like just maps? I was talking to a friend about like the old days. I literally went on a trip once from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Los Angeles, and we were using a map. It was my spring break for like my senior year, and me and a buddy, his dad had won this slush puppy van, and we decided we're going to drive this van go across the country, and we're literally using paper maps. We're just I think back, I'm like, man, we're just lucky to be alive. And then in some cases, stopping at the most sketchy areas to try to get directions or figure out better routes. It was just a complete nightmare. So making it before digitization of maps, there's just no way to stop this stuff. So one of the things that is interesting is, when you think about centralization, there's a lot of things that are happening that are bad, and I think most people think about, oh well, something could happen to this smart contract. And the truth is, the it's a much bigger risk that an individual is going to do something bad than a piece of software. The individuals at these investment banks every 6 years or do something horrible to the whole economy and commit a bunch of fraud, talk about the fraud with each other on email, get a slap on the wrist, and then they go back and then they come up with the next big plan and do the exact same thing. And so that doesn't happen in the smart contract. Gatekeeping, the fact that there's going to be a good old boys club at your local bank, and those people that are in the good old boys club are going to get a sweetheart deal. Everybody else is not. Just favoritism. All those things are a really, really big benefit to this digital kind of revolution when it comes to money. So all of these apps right now, basically these building blocks. The really cool thing is, and one of the reasons I decided to go ahead and start to talk about what we've been doing in the businesses, is that in a lot of cases, the rates that you can get are very high, but you have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, it's like 8,000 different cryptos. And then there's about $5 billion right now that's in different DeFi protocols. But picking which one you're going to put your money in is really crucial. And then understanding this, just like anything else, diversification. Like, we've got one protocol that we have been in and out of that does about 200% APY right now. And another one that we just put some more into literally today, that's at about 126 annual percentage. And it's tough. I will be honest. Like, I've taught in my public company about some of these things, and we're doing nothing that's on that risk profile. But I look back, and we've done very, very well in our crypto strategy, especially as of late, and with very low level lending and interest. And then obviously with the appreciation, those two things combined generate great returns. But in the smaller businesses, we can get very aggressive. And now it's getting to the point where I think I saw Andrew pop in. It's getting to the point where the DeFi is making more money than the actual business. But if you're in a business and you put some of the profits, instead of letting your profits sit in the bank, this becomes a place that you can put your money, generate actual income that you can then reinvest. So every day we go in and we harvest, is kind of what the term typically is, the income that's come in that day. And then we're reinvesting that income literally every day. And so you literally become like a bank. Like, we're like a bank that is harvesting that is taking the income and the payments and all that stuff that they get on a daily basis. And as quickly as possible, they want to get that reinvested. So this is a powerful strategy, because we've had one company, and unfortunately, so I thought of Andrew when he popped in. The really unfortunate thing is that it's complicated. And so even when, I know a little bit, I've got access to people. And so I'm guiding him. He's lead on one of the businesses that we were trying to get into a deal. And the coin that we were going to put into this swap was, I think when he first started, was at 700, started the process. And I'm like checking in, like, hey, did you get that? And it's like 800. And then it's like, hey, how's it going? It's like, man, there's this, they're trying to verify something. It's at 1,000. Long story short, gets up to 1,900. And I'm like, yeah, don't even worry about it at this point. Let's go to another one. Fortunately, we had other businesses that were in that. But those, and when you add to that 100%, 150% APY, it can be very, very cool. So I think one of the things too, everybody's thinking a lot about coins, and I think what later people realize is that the coins are just like the hosting. It's like the old days. Hosting companies for a while were very hot because they're like, oh, like, everybody's going to need these hosting companies. And then you realize that, yeah, everybody needs the hosting company, but the real power is what's built on top of the hosting companies. So if you look at the coins, they're kind of like the infrastructure. They're like the foundation, but DeFi and NFTs are really the the Ubers and the Amazons and those kinds of things. So, there's not a hosting company that is, even though Amazon does does do some hosting, that's not, the why they became Amazon. It was kind of a result of them being Amazon that they started a hosting company. Some of the other interesting things that I think are funny. Number one, when everybody was talking about China banning crypto, and really they banned Bitcoin. And one of the reasons that I think that that's interesting is that China itself is building their own layer one solution. So they're creating something that's called the Blockchain Services Network. Obviously, in Chinese, not not in English, but it's called the Blockchain Services Network. And what they're gonna do is basically, if you want to do any business in the future with China, which let's face it, that's the whole world that has to do business with China. You're going to have to interact with this blockchain services network, and then they're going to have the yuan on top of it, and that's going to be very competitive to the dollar. That's going to be really interesting, but it's one of the reasons as well that you just need some neutral money. Like there are a lot of, I think, the changes that are gonna happen as far as the strength of the dollar. There's just some crazy things in the economy that I won't go into in this video, but you know, just it's pretty outrageous the impact that the government has had, that we're not going to see all the negative. We're starting to see the negative implications right now. You know, being in the U.S. and going places, and they're literally just closed because there are no employees, supply chain. Going to the freaking multiple stores and they don't have bags because that part of the supply chain is just like that is at this point that's literally just a direct impact of the government and some of the policies there. So I want to do this just as an intro to DeFi, and you know, obviously, it loosely ties into owning a business, buying a franchise, doing an acquisition, having a private equity fund, all the things that I talk about here, merely from the perspective that it's another source of income. You know, for your private equity fund, it's a source for being able to generate additional income, especially when money is just sitting. Like I said, you know, even in the public company, like we've gotten a little bit more yield just by holding crypto. So but then you also have the defense aspect of that, which is like you need your money in different places, as we see both deflationary risk and inflationary risk, which is outrageous to like literally we just could teeter, but something is going to happen. So I want to, you know, you guys can leave comments. Let me know if this is something you want me to go into. It is multi-layered. It's very complicated. I don't want to send anybody in any specific direction and not have you have all of the information. All right, let's do a couple comments and then we'll bounce out of here. What's up, Sherry? Thank you so much for popping in. See, Jabras, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. What's up, homie? Black Becky, what's up, Black Becky? Hey there. Thank you for coming and saying hi. What's up? Let's see. Jasmel, I appreciate it. Amari, I hadn't seen you in a while. Good to see you pop in here. And we have Unifox 5. I look like Sean Cody. I don't know who that is. I gotta look that up. I'm gonna look it up. I will see. You know, I have people send me different things. Overseas, it's funny. I know I look nothing like him, but it's funny. I've gotten Dave Chappelle a couple times. But yeah, I'll check out this Sean Cody guy. Big Flip USA says absolutely, and thank you for popping in. What protocols and coins do you recommend exploring? See, this is where I'm hesitant to say, because there's a lot that goes into like even these videos live on. And so to say one today, I may go completely out of it tomorrow. Some that I think for the next few months would definitely, and just easy, you know, just next few months. It's not something we're in and out of really quickly, trying to just get a bunch of yield. Would be Hex. I really like Celsius, you know, where is easy. So I would start with those two, and those are just good ones to start to research. I don't, and you know, there's just so much. I like for 99% of my audience, I know that it's new. And so even like if I go into this, like we have to go through what it takes to set up a MetaMask wallet. If you do have a business, I will say this: if you have a business and your business is looking to get into some of this space, then you can contact Financier, just financierbank.com, and we can help set up everything for you. But yeah, like before you even like the average person is their account is like on Coinbase. None of this stuff is on Coinbase. None of the stuff that I'm talking about or that we do is on course. So you got to understand like creating your own wallet, which even that, just has its risk. So that's before you even get to the actual investing. So I understand this is complicated, but the reason that I think it's important is that number one, obviously, it's outrageous. It's out, the extraordinary returns come from extraordinary activities. So doing the extraordinary is what's going to get you extra. And so it's worth the work to understand this, as opposed to even just getting like what I would really want is more of the methodology behind how to create the returns than even because the coin just doesn't matter. Like if that coin goes or whatever happens tomorrow, what you need is a methodology. It's the same as stocks. Like you can get a stock tip, but that stock tip makes you a little money, and then what? You know what I mean? So that's something just that I'm aware of as I start to talk more about this. And we got Mood Motivator. She says, great content, Ace. I certainly appreciate it. All right. Thank you all so much. As always, be sure to leave me a comment if you want me to talk more about this. If it just sounds too complicated, you're not interested, it hurts your brain for me to even get into this right now. Or, what any questions or thoughts for future videos when it comes to this stuff. And be sure to subscribe. So like and subscribe. Thanks so much. We out.